Good evening, everyone. Welcome to SAFC Fan TV, and we are Thursday Night Live, and we've got a full house. We've got a panel of 5 tonight to go through everything. So, quick introductions. We've got Jack with us. How are you going, Jack?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Yeah, like getting towards the weekend. Looking forward to another hour talking about Sunderland. There's always something going on. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
And for the benefits of everyone else, how are you doing, Terry? Obviously, we already know because we had a practice run.
I'm going to say you've already asked us 2 minutes ago, but I'm champion and ready for the football on Saturday.
Jacob, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too shabby, mate. I haven't been in from work that long. Dreadful weather down south, but it's nice to talk about something with a little bit more optimism, and that is Sunderland AFC.
And a guest here is Michael Bowers, who saved me on the transfer deadline evening, who's coming to save us again. And then all of a sudden we had a full house. So everyone's here. So we've got a full house. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm not doing too bad. I'm de-Pepsi'd. And just to check, are we actually live this time?
We're actually live. I hope we're live this time. And the technical issues for everyone else watching is this. That's the technical issue, right? Picnic.
All right, Conrad will keep us right.
Right. So straight on to the Middlesbrough game, gents. So what did you think of the performance and the lineups and how we did on the day? Jacob?
Overall, mate, I mentioned this in my review video posted on the channel. I would say it's a decent point gain purely based on the awful record that we've had there. It's a tough place to go. They were going to press us from minute one. And we done well, I thought, as the game dragged to contain them. It went along in spells. You know, we started the better. We should have really been in front just before halftime with that chance from Bar. Second half, we started it very poorly. That was the beginning of our downfall. We didn't do enough to get our creative players on the ball. And if I'm brutally honest, it was the timing of Beale's subs, his decision to bring on Rushin and Roberts at the same time, I thought rescued us a point. To be honest with you, I thought Rushin done well. Pressing BORO's backline, running in behind them once he came on, something that just wasn't working out for Burstow when he started the game. To be honest, it's a different type of game to what Burstow's used to. You know, he was probably going to be more up for the aerial battles, and he was up against 2 physical, commanding centre halves, which kept him quiet, which is probably the reason why Michael Beale felt he had to change things. In terms of Beale, what he started with, I thought was quite puzzling. I thought dropping Seal for Lee Hadge. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Are you talking about the lead? Are you talking about the new Leeds lad? It's Yelda.
Yelda. Yeah, that's it. I thought bringing him in, considering his lack of minutes he's had for the majority of the season, I thought Seal had a decent game at right back the previous week against Stoke, but I thought that was purely to cope with the pace that Sam Greenwood offered, because Seal is definitely, obviously he's a solid defender to have in the squad, considering when he starts at centre back and also full back. But I just feel someone with more pace at the back would have been able to contain him, and I thought 09 and Ballard as a pair done well to stop him as the game went on. But yeah, I'm happy with the result overall. I mean, once Rushin got that goal, which the keeper, I don't know how Glover ended up letting that in, but it was in our hands to go and win it, but it just wasn't to be our day, mate. But overall, I'd say a decent point.
Excellent. Okay. Mr. Bowers, do you want to add anything to that for a brief overview of the Middlesbrough game?
Most of what Jacob said is pretty much what I think. I think the first half we shaded it. I think we were, but I mean, I say that. I mean, apart from Sky counted this as a double BORO chance, which I didn't understand. But the one where Greenwood gets in behind Ballard and Patterson blocks a potential shot, and then Izaz, I think his name is, the one who was on loan at Plymouth. He basically puts it over the bar. But apart from that, I thought BORO did nothing in the first half. We had the chances. Obviously, in addition to the chance that Jacob alluded to, you had another one from Bar when he skins his fullback inside the box and then shoots into the side netting. Another one where Clark gets down. I can't remember. It might have been Jobe who gets down the byline and then puts it into Clark, and then put the ball into Clark, and then Clark has a shot. So we had the better of the opportunities. Obviously, the one Jacob mentioned, the one from Bar where basically Jack Lock skins half their team and then puts it on a plate for Bar. That should have been 1-0. And then I felt like second half. So I think first half we should have been in front. And then until we scored, if I'm honest, I thought we were dreadful second half. I thought we were really, really poor. Gave Middlesbrough far too much incentive to try and basically take us up the backside. And it took going 1-0. And for all that Beale deserves credit, and he does deserve some credit, but bringing Robertson and Rusyn on with a good amount of time to go, I still felt he did it reactively off the back of going 1-0 down, when for me he should have done that a bit earlier or should have done that at half-time. But to his credit, he got them on. It changed the game. We look better. I don't really like slagging players off or anything, but I think Burstow just looks like he's not going to work. His confidence just looks very, very low. And I think when Rusyn came on, I think he just instantaneously we looked better. And but then weirdly, once we scored, we ended the stronger, which kind of made me think, well, where was that all second half? Because I don't think Borough particularly good, and I felt we could have beat. I think the game was there for the taking, but I do in the same sense agree with Jacob. I think a point at Middlesbrough is fine, providing you do well in the next 2 games against Plymouth and Huddersfield.
Did you want to quickly reply to that, Jacob?
Where I'd argue about Michael's point about Burstow, do you not think it was a bit, considering how we set up tactically, because how we attacked Borough in the first half when we had more of the ball, we were either going to play around them with possession or catch them on the break, which for me, compared to how we played against Stoke the previous week, just didn't suit Burstow in the slightest, which was kind of strange we started with him, because we basically had a formation to set our counter attacks up against them, which I thought would have suited Rusyn a lot better if he did start the game, because we were crossing the ball with a lot more height against Stoke the previous week. When against Borough, we weren't doing that in the slightest. We were just hoping a midfielder would win the ball and we break from that. But strange decision.
Let's get Jack and Terry's take on this, and then we can argue the finer points after that. Jack, were you at the game?
I did, yeah. I went down. I thought first half I was pretty impressed with the way that we played. I thought we were the better team in the first half. I don't think it was a massive amount in, and I think between us and Middlesbrough, we're both quite evenly matched. I mean, I know that they hammered us early in the season, but I think that was a sort of anomaly. Whenever us and Middlesbrough played, if you look at the last sort of few results, there's never been much between us. They were a few points ahead of us, but we both finished in the playoffs last year. So I never think there's much between us when we play. But I thought we shaded the first half, as Michael says. I thought we were the team that we had the better opportunity. Obviously, with Bar, I'll touch on that in a second. And I felt like we were the team that were looking to create a little bit more. Second half, Carrick had obviously got into them and says, it's still 0-0. You're lucky to be level, and they came out. They were much better. They were much the better team in the second half. But I was impressed with the way we dug in, because I felt like, with the results, and the pressure that's been on Bale and the lads, may have been a bit down in confidence. I know we won last week, but against the poor Stoke team. But I was impressed with the way that they dug in and they fought it out. And we took a point, and I think it's a decent point. I'd have taken a point before the game any day of the week in Middlesbrough. I think it's a pretty tough game, pretty tough place to go. But yeah, on the chance, the only disappointing thing was that we didn't get that first goal. Because I think had we got that first goal, I think we might have even gone on to win the game. But I was a little bit disappointed with Clark, because I thought Clark should have actually shot himself. He created the opportunity, got himself a position. I thought he had a little bit of room to smash it himself. He gives it to Bar, and then Bar, misses again. So that was a really, really key opportunity. We might have got a little bit fortunate with the equaliser. The keeper probably should have had it. If Patterson's conceding that at the other end, I'm absolutely jumping up and down criticising him. And yeah, I think I can understand why Burstow was started, because he did have a good game last week, but it isn't working. I think we've given him enough chances now to realise that it's just not going to work with him. He doesn't fit our style of play. He's not what the Sunderland fans want to see. Pretty much every Sunderland supporter I know, we can see that Rusyn's going to be a better option. So I think that should be the last of the sort of Burstow experiments for me, because Rusyn came on and did more in 5 or 10 minutes than he did in 60 or however long he was on for. So yeah, not ideal, but it would interesting. I think if game had gone another 10 minutes, I think we would have actually nicked it. I really do. I think we were the better team towards the end, and I think had it gone on another 5 or 10 minutes, we might have nicked that and got that. But I thought overall, points a good result, and I thought it was a fair result. I thought it was a pretty balanced game. So yeah, 1-1 we'll take it.
All right, just before we come to you, Terry, just acknowledge the people in the chat. We've got 95 people watching. Thank you for joining us. In the chat, we've got Conrad Tank, Colin Major, Mandy Gray, David Joplin, John Ruddock, Las Palmas Mackham, DJ Sizzler Watson, John Nesbitt, one half of the Nesbitt brothers there. Richie Stubbs, Momat, John Ruddock, we've already mentioned, L12 Bong, and Jeff. We'll try and pick out some of your comments as we go through, gents, but obviously we've got a full panel tonight, so it's going to be few and far between. Terry, what did you think of the game? Do you think Burstow's seen his last?
I don't think he's probably seen his last game, because I think they'll try and persist a little bit more with him. But to be fair, it's like carrying somebody sometimes. We all seem to be carrying a player at this moment. So we've got 11 players out there, but I thought Burstow and Jobe were particularly sort of disappointing last weekend. And I think we've been carrying Jobe for a few games as well over the last few games. Like, he's due to have a rest. But I thought we did start really well. I thought we sort of in the faces. The defence of Borough seemed a bit under pressure, seemed to be a bit sort of sloppy, and I thought we could have capitalised one or two times. But yeah, first half, we were the better side by far. I think Bar should have put his laces through that. Another day would have scored. Like Jack said, Jack Clark maybe should have had a shot as well. But I mean, Bar didn't miss it. Somebody kicked it off the line, but he should have hit it a lot harder than he did.
Yeah.
So I was disappointed not to be in front at half time. Then I'm thinking, yes, second half we'll come out, we'll attack, we'll get on top of this match and we'll go and win the game, but we're like chalk and cheese. Second half, they either raised their game another level completely, or we just sort of had an awful team talk at half time and we relaxed and we were never sort of at the races. And even with 10 minutes gone, we were screaming out for them to make the substitutions, and I knew he wouldn't. I knew he'd make them after we went the goal down. We knew they were going to score Middlesbrough the way it was going. You could see it was coming, and you could see exactly what we needed to do. Bring Rushin on, bring Roberts on. Simple as, but we wait too long. Why can't we be sort of proactive instead of reactive? It does my head in. But when we after a goal down, which wasn't a free kick, by the way, I don't think Neil should have had a free kick against them. And I thought the referee was particularly poor, to be honest. But we did fight back after them two came on. We sort of woke up and we controlled the rest of the match. And I think Rushin, I'm pleased he scored a goal. He deserves the goal for me, because he come on, he's in the faces straight away, got the high press, he's creating things. As soon as we can learn to play with a striker again, I think there's goals abundance with Rushin.
Yeah, it seems like we were set up to play with a striker, because there's quite a few crosses in that game that came into the box when nobody was there. It's like the game was made for a poacher that wasn't in there. So I don't know if you noticed that with a few of the crosses. So
I have to say, mind, I can say it. I think a fair result, 1-1. I mean, Middlesbrough with the likes of the lad up front, I'm forgetting his name now. What do you call him again? Next Sunderland player.
Greenwood.
Greenwood. He looked dangerous all the time, as if he's going to get in behind the defenders, and he made one or two runs where he was caught offside. And I could have gone either way if he held his line, because I think he was probably their dangerous step the whole of the game. And I was a bit worried that he was going to get through once or twice, but we seemed to defend pretty well. Even though I think it's time now we start to move Luke O'Nien into the holding midfield role and let Ekwan Neil have a bit more freedom going forward to try and supply Rushin with some ammunition. Right.
So, I mean, this has popped up. It's probably related to the Middlesbrough game, but nobody's really brought it up. I think it was another game where he was missing a lot of it. Do you still think he needs a rest? What do you think of the situation with Jobe? We'll go to you, Jacob, if you answered.
We're not going to improve tactically. This is what people need to understand, that if we rest Jobe now, he'll come back in a few games. He'll come back better. But right now, we're burning the lad out completely. Right now, in the middle of the park, he's not winning second balls. His decision-making, bringing the forward line into play is poor. Bill's excuse will be, well, we lack height in the team with Bellingham not playing. But I've probably seen Ekwa win more second balls in one game than what Jobe's had for the majority of the season. And Ekwa's not even meant to be a ball-winning midfielder. You know, we signed him to be more or less a creative midfielder, I should say. But Jobe, if he's taken out now, he will bounce back. But it's for the benefit of him. You know, the lad it's his first proper season playing consistently week in, week out. And there are ways to change it, you know, to make us better as a side, even with him not playing. You know, we can still go to a midfield three. There are others that can slot in to his position and we'd still do a half decent job without him being there. You know, for example, people could say, you know, was it Bar is solely is it a winger right now, but he has played in a midfield three before. Do that and then have Roberts as part of the front three with him on one side and Clark on the other and Rushin up front. But knowing Bill, he won't do that. He'll find excuses to start him.
Yeah. Michael, what do you think with the Jobe situation? Do you think he was still a wonder kid and that's just a bit burnt out? Or do you think it's a bit of a flop and he's had a couple of lucky games and after that disappeared?
Well, first of all, thank you to Richie Stubbs for the comment earlier, saying it was great to have us back on the channel. Thanks very much, mate. I forgot to acknowledge that before. Right, Jobe. Yeah. For me, I think Jobe he is burnt out. He needs a rest. It's a very thank you very much for putting that on. No, Jobe is knackered. He needs a rest. And I know the likes of Philly probably won't like comments like that, but he is. Like, it's a similar situation to Dan Neil in the season we got promoted, where he was played, then burnt out, then was taken out of the team by he who must not be named, and then he ended up being better for it months down the line and then the following season. Now, I'm not saying rest Jobe for the rest of the season or anything like that, but I agree with Jacob. I think even just for a few weeks, I think it's just to take him out and to give him a bit of time to mentally recharge as well as physically. And I agree. I think he will look better for it. I think constantly playing the guy at the minute isn't going to do him or the team any help. And look, I'm someone who I'm an open fan of what Speakman's done. But even this comment I thought was a load of nonsense when he said, he doesn't need a rest. He's only playing that one game. No, Christian. He needs a rest. He needs a breather. That's one comment that Speakman said that I completely disagree with. I think even then, Bar, for me, to relate to it a bit, I think Bar, for me personally, I've seen Bar's best performances when he's come as a number 10. If you look at the game, I mean, it's one game, but you look at the game away at Norwich last year where he scored. If my memory serves right, I think he played a number 10 in that game. Now, I appreciate the head coach we've got there is different to what we got now. There's different players there to what we've got now. But I wouldn't be a bet against having Clark, Bar, and Roberts behind Rusyn for the next game. I mean, will Michael Beale do that, as Jacob alluded to? Probably not. You're probably trying to stick with Burstow and Jobe. And again, it's nothing against Jobe because I do really like Jobe. I've been impressed with what his best performances. I've been very impressed with Jobe and what I've seen. But it's just taking him out for a little while for the sake of making him and the team a bit better. And also increases competition to make sure no one gets complacent as well.
So, Jack, Terry, just get both of your input on that. Are you agreeing with that? Do you think he needs a rest? Do you think he's still got something to offer?
I think the rest is probably the evident thing, but I also think we need to try and work out what we want him to do in the team as well, because I think we're sort of asking him to do a couple of things, aren't we? We're asking him to be a bit of an aerial physical threat. We're also asking him to be a bit of an athletic sort of carrier of the ball. I think you probably, if you had an out-and-out defensive midfielder in the team, it might just release Jobe a little bit more, and you might see him play a little bit better football because he wouldn't have as much responsibility through the pitch in terms of stopping the opposition and being the ball carrier, to be able to be sort of support the attack a little bit more. And I think that's when he's best. Personally, he hasn't got any defensive sort of responsibilities, and he can pick up and get on the end of things. That's when you see the best of him. But yeah, this model is meant to be sort of developing young players, and we're sort of pinning our hopes on them every week. And it's a tough. The Championship's a really hard league. Do you know what I mean? I mean, people say, he's 18-year-old or 18. I think he is 18 or 19. He should be able to play football, and it's like, but you don't understand the demands of a physical league like that. Do you know what I mean? Playing week in, week out, and his body's still developing and his game's still developing as well. He might not know, what he's going to be as a player. It might take him a year or two to find that out. So yeah, we are putting a lot of responsibility on him, and I think we do need to. That's where your squad depth comes into it, though, doesn't it? We aren't a good enough team. If we were a team higher up the league, we might be able to use him a little bit more sparingly, but because we're sort of demanding so much of him, you're not going to see the best out of him. Using him every week and expecting a lot of him every match. That's what I think.
Yeah. Terry, do you think there was less pressure on him at the first few games he played, and that's why we saw the better of him, maybe?
There's a couple of angles in there. I mean, we'll go for the negative side of things. He may just not be good enough. There's always that side. He might just not be good enough. He may be, just because his brother's fantastic world beater doesn't mean that he's naturally going to be the same. He may be just like a run-of-the-mill championship player. That's the small percentage. On the big side of things, we're hoping he is, and hoping I'm just thinking, like you have all said the same thing. He just looks tired. He looks burnt out, probably physically and mentally. And to be honest, he'll probably play at the weekend, but it'll probably nothing to do with Bale. It'll be what Speakman will tell Bale to do. Simple as. I don't think Bale. I think if Jobe possibly may have I don't know. I've heard people say it's in his contract. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if anybody would put in the contract that have to play every week. But I think that Bale's hands are kind of half tied in this respect to do with Jobe. I think if Speakman says he's got to be played and Jobe wants to play, I don't think Bale's got a choice.
Right. So we've got 138 watching. So get your comments in. I will try and get through some of them. The last thing on the Borough game, we'll start with you, Terry, man of the match.
Man of the match, I give it Jack Clark. I thought he was definitely head and shoulders above most of the players on the pitch for me anyway.
Jack?
Yeah, I will probably say Clark, but just to be different, I'll say Rushin. I thought obviously got the goal when he come on. He looked sharper up front. He added another dimension to our play. And I like his little cheeky celebration. I don't know what it was. It was sort of a jumping at arms up. And yeah. He got caught in the face as well, which made him look really hard. I thought made him look like he'd been part of the Ukrainian army or something like that. The way he stood there, I liked it. So I'd give it to Rushin just to be different.
Mr. Bowers, man of the match for Middlesbrough game.
I'm really struggling to think because I don't think anyone particularly stood out. But yeah, probably if I had to pick anyone, I probably will go with Jack. I actually didn't think Clark was that great, if I'm honest. I think Rustin for me was one who you could see instantly when he came on the pitch the difference he made. And again, it's just reiterating my point that he's not just the best of a bad bunch. He actually isn't a bad player in my opinion, and he should be starting.
Cool, Jacob.
Jack Clark was really good, but I do agree with Michael. I have seen Clark have better performances than that. But one man we haven't mentioned, I thought Hjelde at left back. I thought he was brilliant. Yeah. I thought he had a really, really good game, running up the channel, linking up play with Clark, doing the overlapping runs and also getting back and defending as well. A really solid debut from him, considering I didn't expect him to start the game. But yeah, very promising signs.
If that's anything to go by quickly, then that's a good example of the recruitment team we've had for a while now.
I thought he took 5 or 10 minutes to get going in the first half, but when he got up to speed with the game, and I think that was probably just match fitness. When he got up to speed with the game, he didn't put a foot wrong after that. He was solid. He was really, really good. He won 4 or 5 headers that you wouldn't expect him to win. And yeah, I think the Sunderland fans are really going to like him. If he turns into like that, you can see how fans getting right behind him because he looks like he's going to be 100%, body on the line every week. So yeah, I thought it was a really impressive debut once he got up the speed of the game.
Yeah, apparently he can play centre half as well.
I think the only negative thing about our team at the moment, is sort of on the negative side, is the passing. I think a lot of passes seem to go astray. And if we learn to pass the ball, even 15-20% better than we're doing now, I think we've got a decent side.
Yeah, it does seem to be the simple things like that and like setting up for set pieces. It seems to be the same issues, stray passes and set pieces every single time. In the comments, L12 Bong says, Jobe doesn't work well with Neil and Ekwa. It just doesn't work. David Brown said Jobe would probably make a better centre forward rather than a number 10. Conrad Tank says Jack Clark for man of the match. Conrad Tank also says Hjelde also has a sound debut. So there's quite a few agreeing there. That takes us nicely into the next bit. So with Leo, I'm just going to say Leo because I'm not going to pronounce this second name wrong so many times. It's just going to do everyone's head in. So transfers. I mean, if anybody watched us on the transfer evening, mine and Michael Bowers' opinions and everything about us because we ran out of stuff to talk about. But incomings were Romain Mundle, Callum Styles, and Leo him. So, what do you think, Jack? Good bit of business, do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I think I like the look of Hjelde. I mean, we've only seen him for 90 minutes, but if he plays like that and he continues on like that, I think the Sunderland fans are really going to get behind him, and I think he looks like a really good signing. The other two, I wouldn't like to comment on them too much, Mike. I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't seen much of them. I've only seen clips of that Mundle. He looks like he's tricky. He looks like he's going to be attacking from the left. Dare I say it's similar to the way that Jack Clark plays. Obviously not on that level or anywhere near that level yet, but he has that little bit, bit of ability to get past his man from what I've seen. So I'm looking forward to see how he plays. I think he'll probably come off the bench a few times, and then it might be good against a tight defence. You know what I mean? If we've got a tight defence, we can bring him on. And him and Clark, or him, Clark and Roberts, all three of them in the attacking midfield position. That not many defenders are going to fancy him when they get up against it. And the same with Styles. I'll reserve my judgment on him. I don't know if Styles is going to be a centre back or if he's going to be a sort of midfielder, because I think he's a bit of a utility man, isn't he? He's a bit of a Luke O'Nien, I think, Styles. I think he can play in 3 or 4 positions. So he may be the defensive midfielder that we've been wanting. I would have liked somebody a little bit more experienced, a little bit higher calibre. But we'll have to just wait and see. But we wanted a few signings and we did get a couple. So, everyone was saying, obviously, we had the glaring omission that we didn't get an out-and-out striker that a lot of people wanted. And who knows if Styles will be the defensive midfielder. So I don't think we've addressed the positions, but we have got a few in. So, wait and see. But hopefully they turn out well.
Terry, what do you think of the incoming transfers then? We'll discuss the outgoing afterwards, but what do you think of the incoming transfers that we got in them 3?
Yeah, I think the whole window itself was probably a 5 at best. I think Yelder seems like a decent lad at left back, which is his first game, so the jury's out still at the moment, and hopefully it'll come good. And the other ones I haven't got a clue, to be fair. I mean, we're getting somebody from Barnsley who had a few games at Millwall, I think it was last season. I mean, like a League One player coming to the Championship, you're taking a risk. Utility player, right back, left back, midfielder. So the jury's out with him. And the other one, just a young lad from ex-Tottenham Academy. So he looks quite good. Apparently had a good 60 minutes during the week for the young ones under 23s. But yeah, I thought it would have been a poor window if we'd lost someone like Jack Clark or someone, but because we kept all of our players apart from Pritchard, I thought, yeah, it's kind of average window.
Jacob, what do you think of the incoming transfers?
Mixed, to be honest. I mean, only time will tell in the next few weeks and months whether it's turned out to be a good window or not. From what I've seen from Hjelde on his debut, it looks like he will be a decent sign. He's hit the ground running straight away. The other lads, Styles, I'm not so sure he'll be the long-term option. I mean, he'll have to put in very good performances if he's going to really make a statement on the signing the club's made for him and based on the potential that he's meant to have. I mean, I'm not quite sure whether we've signed him as a defensive midfielder or for other reasons. Mundell, I'm excited to see, from the clips I've watched. I mean, I know the argument would be we've seen so many signings over the years who have got that same sort of talent and turned out to be flops, I should say. But I think this one's going to be different. I just have big faith that he's going to do what. I mean, I hope that. Well, I mean, it's big reality. We have to be realistic here. It's big reality. He's signed to be Clark's replacement. But listen, I think the lad's got great potential to be a very good signing for us. I was actually sat next to his brother at BORO away, who was his brothers, I should say. They were pretty disappointed he didn't come on the pitch. But at the same time, they have faith as time will come.
Okay, excellent. Mr. Bowers, you're a fan of the model we have at the club with the young signings. I think you've openly said that a few times. Are you happy with the 3 that are brought in? All look like potential good signings?
Well, I guess I'll have to do a Jacob and keep the faith that hopefully it will work out in the signings that have been made. Couldn't resist that. But I agree with what Terry said, actually. I think even as someone who is a fan of the model, I think there are a lot more good things we've done than bad ones. January, for me, I think I'm struggling to give it more than a 5 out of 10, to be honest, because Styles, if I start with Styles, I think the jury, yes, I think it was Jim made a good point. Yep, he has played over 100 championship games, so we can't really use the argument that he's not experienced because that should debunk that, in my opinion. He is experienced. But my judgment on him depends if we've signed him as a midfielder. I know he's a utility player, but I would have liked an out-and-out striker the same way that a lot of other fans would. But for me, the one position I thought was most priority was a defensive midfielder in the Corey Evans sort of mould. Now, apparently, I could be wrong here, and someone correct me on the panel or in the chat itself. Apparently, Styles can play in that position. He has played in that position apparently before. So if we've signed him for him to play in that position, then I would maybe bump it up to a 6. But again, that's as of right now, I still go with a 5 because jury's out. Mundell, look. Of the clips I've seen, he does look really good, but it's clips and YouTube. Anyone can look good on that, You'd have found clips that made Will Grigg look like really, really good. We know how that turned out. So Mundell, I mean, I can't remember who put the comment in before, but and Jacob mentioned it. Like, look, Mundell could be viewed as one of the replacements for Clark. We've got to bear in mind that when we do get money for Clark, that we should have the money to go out and sign someone if we deem someone better. There you go, Momas. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think he's someone that will be viewed as potentially a replacement for Jack Clark long term down the line. And the other one, Yelda, if Sunday's based on anything to go by, it looks a very promising signing. There was a couple of times where I thought Yelda, certainly early in the game, got caught in behind a few times a bit too easily, but I agree with what Jack said there. He got better as the game went on and grew into a very, very solid performance. So I think on the whole, good in that regard. Obviously, no, I mean, we'll talk about Pritchard, I'm sure, later on, but keeping Jack Clark, I think, was a big thing. A lot of our fans were concerned, or some of our fans were concerned he'd go in January. I personally wasn't, because I just didn't see the benefit in Sunderland selling him, because if you sold him in January, that's essentially you forfeiting any hopes of a top 6 place, really, isn't it? And at the same time, you've got a chance for him to get his value up even more in the next couple of months, if you want to look at it very cynically. So as of right now, 5 out of 10. But depending on what happens, how many of the lads perform, it might jump to a bit higher than that.
Yeah, I quite like all 3, and a great debut by Yelda. If the other 2 can do the same thing, then we're laughing. Now, the biggest concern for a lot of people is obviously the outgoing was a lot more than the incoming, whether it be permanent signings like Pritchard or the loans that went out, because we lost Pritchard, Matete, Benetti, Diamond, Triantis, and Mayenda. Do you think we're right to let all of them go, Terry? Or do you think we should have kept some of that squad depth there?
I agree with Diamond. I agree with Triantos. Mayenda, possibly I would have kept Mayenda, but you've got 3 already. So, I mean, I think Mayenda, for me, goes ahead of Semedo and goes ahead of Burstow, in my opinion, but what I've seen of him so far, so I'm disappointed he's gone. The Pritchard thing, well, I was disappointed at the start, but now it's happened, and he's sort of walked out of the club. Then good riddance. End of the day, let's just get on with it. It's how we adapt the team to replace Pritchard, and we've got players that we can move around. It's for me to sort of improve the team on Saturday and probably do a decent job. So we'll see what happens with the whole Jobe situation. If we constantly play Jobe, then obviously for me you might as well have Pritchard in that role rather than Jobe. But yeah, I mean, the outgoings, I'm kind of happy with them all apart from the end, to be honest.
All right. Jack, are you ever similar, or is the people you'd give chance there, or do you think they're all pretty much see you later?
I think I can understand most of them. Just run through the list again, Mike. You're...
Pritchard,
yeah,
Matete, Benetti,
yeah,
Diamond, Triantis, Mayenda.
Well, Diamond, obviously, what happened with him. He needs to play football. Best off, he can just get his head down and play football and put, the off the field issues behind him. Mayenda, I agree with what Terry says to a certain extent, but I can understand. We're sort of stacked with attacking midfielders, aren't we? Attacking midfielders that can come in, and I know he plays as a striker, but he's not an out-and-out striker, so I can understand that one. Triantis, again, he's not going to get any games at the minute. He's well down the pecking order. He hasn't had a very good start for Hibs. The games he's played for Hibs, he hasn't played very well at all. I think he's given a penalty away in both games. I think I might be wrong on that. So not a great start from him. I mean, hopefully that, if he comes back to us, he does better, but I'm not holding any hopes. I think he might be a bad, well, not a bad signing, but a signing that doesn't live up to expectations. But again, I can understand that he's probably itching to play international footballer. The only one that I might have looked at was Matete. I know Matete hasn't played that much, but he might have been a bit more of another option in sort of centre midfield. I mean, might not have stepped up to the grade of the Championship, but we don't know. We've never played him there. I might have just been tempted to hold on to him to see. And the Pritchard one, well, it was always going to happen. We knew that there was interest from other clubs for Pritchard. Everybody said he's going to end up at Birmingham back with Tony Mowbray, even though he didn't play him when he was here. And when you come out and publicly say that you're not going to play for a club, then it's only going to go one way. So one thing I did want to bring up, though, I think, there was a lot of talk in the summer that we were going to sort of sell one big player every window. We sold Ross Stewart in the summer, and a lot of people were worried that there was going to be one going in January, a likely candidate to be Jack Clark. So I agree with what a couple of lads have said in terms of keeping hold of them, because if there was rumours that the model was going to be that one big player, so to speak, in inverted commas, was going to leave. So we haven't had a big player leave. So that's something positive, and keeping Clark might be looked at as a new signing in a way as well, if we can get the best out of him.
Yeah, it is a bit worrying because it's not just Clark, is it? It's Patterson, Neil, and now even Chris Rigg attracting interest from all these big clubs. Michael, what do you think of the outgoing transfers? I'll run through them again. Pritchard, Matete, Benetti, Diamond, Triantis, Mienda. Is there anyone you would have kept?
I love the way you rhyme Benetti, Matete. That just made a little rhyme there. That was quite funny. I tried to think about back to the loans. Right, Diamond, start with it. Diamond, for me, was someone who I didn't think was going to make the step up the Championship. And obviously, he's had more important things on his mind in the last year or so. We won't touch into the legal stuff with that one. But I think for him, for Carlisle, I think it is a move that makes sense. He needs to go out and get football. He wasn't going to get it here. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Clark, it's not Clark, Diamond, one Jack to another. If Diamond goes out at Carlisle and then he joins them on a free, because I believe his contract's up at the end of the season. Matete, this is a funny one for me because I feel like I wonder whether the club have kind of gone beyond Matete in terms of that we probably don't deem him good enough now for what we for what we want to do. And in that sense, maybe getting him out on loan might be a good thing to maybe drive a bit of a price up in the summer if we can get League One clubs coming in for him. Because if he does go in the summer, Matete, then there'll be a host of League One clubs wanting to take him. I'm convinced of that. The other ones, Triantis, agree with him going out on loan. I think he needs to get minutes. Mienda, as much as I agree with Ty that I think Mienda's looked probably the most encouraging out of all the other strikers, I do think, again, if we're going to be looking at it from a longer-term perspective, then, and this is one of the reasons why if we had got another striker in, I wouldn't have minded both Semedo and Mienda both going out on loan to sort of look ahead to next season to get them both some minutes. So I'm not, but apparently I don't know if he's even played the first couple of games for Hibernian so far. So if he doesn't play games for Hibs, then you might as well have kept him here. But I agree with that one. And there was another loan deal, I'm sure there was. Hang on. Diamond, Matete, Bennett, that's it, that was the other one. Yeah, he's another one who I think needs minutes as well. I think again we need to start, if we're not going to have them, they're not going to develop by sitting on the bench here and not playing. Pritchard, look, I think the club have got to take a certain level of responsibility, and it depends for me if Pritchard wanted to stay. If he wanted to stay, then I think the club handled his contract atrociously, if I'm honest. But at the same time, you don't come out and refuse to play. I don't care what anyone can tell me. Like Jack said, it's only going to end one way once you start going down that territory. You don't come out and say, "Well, withdraw from the squad and not wanting to play." Again, footballers have got. I mean, I think Terry might have mentioned it before, but I think I'm sort of the same opinion as that. You've got to realise what a lucky position you're to be in to play for a club like us and to have a professional career, and fans, and to take that for granted. Essentially, I think fans won't forgive that. I mean, and touch on what Jack said about when you look at selling a key player, whether it be every window or every season, I think the fact that we have spent quite a bit of money across the summer and we have spent a few million in January probably proves that we are going to be looking to do that, because it wouldn't surprise me if, say, the money we got for Stewart, bear in mind, that happened very late in the window, didn't it? It happened pretty much with like an hour before the deadline finished. So, that funded a lot of the business we've done in the summer potentially, and potentially funded what we did in January. So keeping Clark, I think, was a big thing. Obviously, look, I can't remember, Nick Quinn said, and I agree, look, if we don't get promoted, I've accepted it. Clark will go in the summer. There you go. I think we've got to be realistic in the fact, and I don't think it's like an ambition. I think it's realism. Clark will be off in the summer if we don't get promoted. Why would he stay in the Championship for a third season on the trot? It's all about, for me, how much we get in for him and how much of that money is reinvested, because I do believe we will reinvest more money. It's just a matter of when it will be. But to answer your question, outgoings, yeah, most of them I can probably agree with. I mean, Pritchard's shame how it ended. But yeah, we move on. We'll see whether the loan deals come back any stronger. Yeah.
Before we come to you, Jacob, Terry, you wanted in during that?
I just want to ask you all, do you think that's the last we've seen of Benetti? Because I've got a feeling that Mundell's come in and I think he's going to be in the same sort of position Benetti was. I think Benetti going to Greece, that's probably the last we're going to see of him, I think.
Yeah, I believe it was a loan deal with an option to buy. Is that right?
Is it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jack, you wanted in as well during that one?
Michael pretty much said what I was going to say about it. It's looking likely that Clark's going to go. I think to a certain extent, he's probably earned a crack at the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? The way he's played, he's probably earned that right to play for a Premier League team. I'd love it to be Sunderland, but I think we have to have our realistic heads on here, and it's unlikely that we're going to get promoted this season. Not impossible, but unlikely. I think what we need to do though is I'm fed up in previous years of Sunderland being a soft touch when clubs have wanted our players. We've sold under the odds, I think, for a lot of our players. Not so much this regime, but I think in general, going back for going back sort of 15 or 20 years. So let's stick a high price tag on him and say, look, you want Jack Clark, 25 million. Yeah, there you go, 25 million, 20 up front and 5 million based upon whatever, and say 25 million, or even push it even higher up towards 30 and say, look, you want that player that much, he's worth it, you'll pay it. And if they get that desperate, then we could use that, and we should use that. There should be absolutely no excuse for not having it reinvested. I mean, if that did happen and the money didn't go back into the squad, I think there would be wide scale, protests against the ownership then, because that would be the absolute last straw if that money wasn't reinvested at a big sum that we would get for Clark.
Yeah, it would be noticed a lot more with something like that. Jacob, the outgoing players, will come to you. Do you need the list again?
If I can remember them off my I'll start with Triantis, Mienda going to Hibs on loan. Mienda, I was a little bit surprised that, I won't lie, but then again, we have got 3 other strikers there. I think that was going to block his development a little bit, even though I do rank him a little bit higher than what Burstow and Hamir have shown so far this season. But I hope he comes back full of confidence and even better than what we saw in him in the first half of the season. Triantis, yeah, I agree with that one too. The lad needs minutes. I believe it's been a bit of a mixed start for him. I think he gave away a penalty on his debut for Hibs in a 3-0 defeat. And didn't he play against Celtic the other night? It was just he's
given away 2 penalties in the 2 games he's played, believe it or not. So, yeah, not the best of starts.
It's not been a good start on that front. But in terms of the other, Matete, I think it basically signifies that the club don't think he's good enough to really compete in the Championship and show the attributes he has. They think he belongs so far at that level, and I think with him being still at us, particularly in the second half of the season, it's only going to block his development, even though we are crying out for a central defensive midfield player. I think the club feels there will be better options out there, and I think they'll definitely have to look to the summer to address that option, with the likes of Corey Evans not expected to play again. With Dewey going out on loan, I hope he does. I still think he's got more to offer, Dewey. You look at that Southampton game earlier in the season where he did that double spin, crossed the ball for Riggs' header. I think hopefully I'll get to see more of that with him in a Sunderland shirt again, but it's only for the club to decide his fate, and also depending on how well he does out on loan in Greece. I think that will boost his confidence a lot. I think for me, I think Dewey should have gone out on loan at the start of the season, but I was hoping that would have been an English club. I think for him to go on loan to a club in Greece is a bit puzzling, but then again, you never know, they could have been the only club that came in for him. So yeah, it's hard to tell what was the real story on that front. But overall, in terms of our outgoings, some of them I did expect, particularly with the loans out. Well, the majority of them were loans, but other than that, with the Mienda one, I was a little bit tad surprised.
Yeah, I think I'm the same with that one, because I'm with Terry on that one. When he did come on, and what we saw of Mienda, he rates probably the second string to Rusin for me. Right, we'll move quickly on to Plymouth, which is the upcoming game. So Sunderland's won 19 times against Plymouth and lost 10 overall time, with 5 draws. However, the most recent outing saw us lose 2-0. Which I'm sure we'll all remember because it wasn't that long ago. And in that game, we took 24 shots to their 10 and we still lost 2-0. And just so you know, Rusin started in that game as well. Plymouth haven't lost a league game since the end of December. So what do we think of that, Terry? Let's have a look. What's your preview for Plymouth?
Well, I'll show you my team if you want first.
Definitely.
And you can just have it.
Here comes the board. Wrong button.
You can get it done.
As good as it. Get Terry on the big screen. There we go.
There we go. Right, so the only one that sort of I'm unsure about is probably Barb. I think Barb still deserves to get a chance over Roberts till Roberts get more fitness. But I mean, I think I would definitely bring in Sealed as the in defence and move Logo 9 to the holding midfielder. Then it frees up Ekwa and Neil because we need to get more opportunities for Rushin and even Clark and Barr. Those front four there behind Rushin could all like sort of come forward and drive forward. And even if like Neil sits back a little bit and then Ekwa goes forward, we keep on taking turns while Logo 9 does the dirty work in the holding midfield position, backing up the central defenders. But for me, that's the team. We need to change it, but I don't think we will. I think Jobe will stay in the side. I think he'll keep it exactly the same 4-2-3-1 system. That's just my opinion. I mean, Plymouth in the last 8 games have only lost 1. They're in good form. They won the first away win of the season away at the weekend against Swansea. They've got the top goal scorer in the league, that Morgan. I mean, I would have loved him to come to Sunderland, 23 years of age, 29 games, 16 goals this season. I mean, he came from Swansea, did really well. He's on loan to Plymouth last season, scored a shitload of goals for them. So he's a fan. He's not even a striker, right? He's the same as like Jack Clark on the right-hand side. So he's more of an attacking midfielder. You've got him, and you've also got the other lad up, what's he called again? You've got Richard Hardy. He's doing well as well, 26-year-old striker, 129 games, 41 goals. So it won't be easy. They score plenty of goals, but they let plenty of goals in. So it's a matter of who scores the most goals and who obviously lets the most goals in on Saturday.
There you go. That's definitely one of those commentator adages there, isn't it? So, Jack, what do you think about the going to Plymouth? What's your changes you'd make, and what's your prediction for the score?
I was just laughing at Terry there. It was a little bit of an Alan Partridge, that wasn't it? It's about who scores the most goals and who concedes the most goals. No, to be fair, that's football. I think I agree. I can't say anything I would change other than the fact that I think Ballard might potentially miss it with the shoulder. I don't know how bad that is. If that's happens, it's probably going to be O'Neill and then Ekwa and Neil in front of them, and then the 2 changes are obvious. Obviously, Robertson, Rushin both have to start. You probably push Barr behind the striker and give Jobe Bellingham a rest and drop Burstow. You could class it as dropping Bellingham, I suppose. I think Plymouth are improving, though. I think they've picked up recently. They looked like they were going to be in the midst of a relegation battle, but I think they've started to pick up now and they're looking towards mid-table. They're only, I think, 6, 7, 8 points behind us. I don't think they're going to even make a playoff charge, to be fair, but they are improving. That Whittaker's probably the only player I would have ahead of Jack Clark, potentially in our team. He's one of the only players that I think's up there with Clark on his day. He played really well against us when we went down to Plymouth. He couldn't handle him all game, and I think he scored as well. I think he scored a really good goal in the top corner, if I remember rightly. So, Plymouth are no mugs. One thing that I was pleased at, though, they went extra time on Tuesday night against Leeds. So Leeds, they conceded in the 86th minute, which meant they went extra time with Leeds, and it was a heavy pitch as well. There was plenty of rain and a heavy pitch. So hopefully, second half, if we're chasing a goal, we should have extra fitness, considering they've had that tough game in midweek. So I'd like to think, we go gung-ho in the last 20 minutes if we need a goal to win or a goal to draw and really go for it. But I'm confident. I think we should be looking to win this game.
Yep. Jacob, what do you think of that then? They obviously took a drumming off Leeds in the Cup, but like I said before, they haven't lost a league game since the end of December. So in 2024, they're yet to lose a league game. What do you think our chances are there?
Well, I agree with what Jack said, considering they'll have a lack of energy levels compared to ours in terms of fitness. But then again, they'll have confidence come into our place. The fact that they're undefeated this calendar year so far. I mean, I think a lot of Sunderland fans are probably expecting Brendan Galloway and Barley Mumba to have the performance of their lives coming up to our gaff. I mean, I hope I'm wrong on that front, but you know what that means, don't you? But hopefully we keep the likes of them quiet. But also, I should say their main threat, Morgan Whittaker. He's a very good player for the level, for the Championship, I should say. I mean, he was even linked with, there was a period in the January transfer whilst Lazio were linked with Jack Clark. I think we turned down a bid that they made. They went in for Whittaker after that, and he was the one who scored that belter of a goal down at their gaff earlier in the season. So yeah, he'll be the main threat. But if we keep him quiet, we should be able to come out with 3 points, because I would say he's their main source of goals right now.
Do you agree with that, Michael? Do you agree with Jacob? Do you think we've got a win in us for this Plymouth game, despite their form?
I think it depends. If you're wanting to be pushing to the top, then as much as we don't have a God-given right to win the game. Of course we don't. But this is a game you need to be winning, in my opinion, if you are really wanting to cement a top 6 challenge. I actually agree with what Jack said, funny enough, because I was out in midweek with a couple of lads and we were in the pub and we were keeping an eye on the Plymouth game, and I was glad that went to extra time because, and yes, maybe I'm thinking about it too much, but the fact that Leeds aren't a team that will sit off you, they will give you the runaround, and they will have made Plymouth players do the yards. And I could be wrong, but I think I saw online there was a couple of people saying that Plymouth squad, they had to play nearly a full strength team. I might be wrong on that one. Obviously, the opinion of a couple of people doesn't mean it is a full strength team. But if it is a full strength team, then in my opinion, then we've got no excuses, in my opinion, not to be winning this game. They obviously have improved since Steven Schumacher's left. Apparently, I think they've obviously started to tighten up defensively and started to grind out wins. I mean, I'm so glad they won last week away at Swansea because I know exactly what would have happened. If they hadn't have won at Swansea, then they still wouldn't have won an away game this season. And of course, how Sunderland love to be the team that breaks those ducks for opposition sides. But for me, the only thing I'd say in terms of starting 11, I think it also depends on how fit is Roberts to start. I can't imagine Roberts would be fully fit to start, at least not every game at the moment. But if we can try and get him into the team, as much as we all go on about Barr's numbers are better than Roberts' and they are, I think Roberts as a player we've missed really, really badly in recent weeks. So yeah, for this game, I do fancy us to win. I mean, I said we'd get beat at Borough and we got a point more than what I thought we would. So I think I've got a funny feeling we'll nick this game, but yeah, it is just one of them. Ultimately, like I said, if the point that Borough's okay. Now build on it against Plymouth and obviously against Huddersfield next midweek. These are games for me you've got to be winning if you're wanting to be within a shout of the top 6. And thankfully, Ballard, for example, who could have missed the game, looks to be okay.
That's good, yeah.
Going to the Plymouth team that game again, Ali Mumba, who started, you got Morgan Whittaker, who started, and you got Ryan Hardy, all 3 of those started. So I'm taking it was a full strength team, to be fair.
Well, hopefully that's the case.
Well, yeah, hopefully we get an early lead and we can see the likes of what this Mundell can do. If he can get like 15 minutes at the end, it'd be nice to see him get some game time. When we're talking about Plymouth, I'm very conscious that I'm wearing green under my Sunderland shirt. I promise you, it's not secretly a Plymouth
got a green pajamas on.
We're all doing it. We're all doing it.
A quick one, lads. Would you give Rig more time on the pitch if we're winning? Would you give him 30 minutes or something? Because I think he needs more game time now.
Yes,
absolutely.
If we have the benefit of being 2 or 3-0 up and they're looking even more tired, absolutely. No reason why not.
Could he even do a better job than Jobe right now?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the other thing to add on that is that I don't know if you've seen a good friend of the channel, James Copley. He put an article on the Sunderland Echo about the state of Riggs' contract, and basically, long story short, I think he's eligible for a long-term contract in the summer, if I remember his article right. But we need to start playing and using him a bit more. I mean, I know Michael Beale has apparently come out and said that he's probably going to be using his first team plans more. But I think for me, we've got a real talent there, and I think to keep him longer term, because I want to get him onto like a 5-year contract or something. And I think to do that, we're going to have to start using him a bit more. And also as well, at the end of the year, I know Telly's saying careful we may burn Rig out. Yeah, that is true. Although he hasn't been starting since the start of the season. So I'd like to think that he should avoid that issue if we use him in the correct way. But for me, I agree, Jack. I think if you're 2-3-0 up in the game, then I think, you're going to have to, or even if you're like 2-0 up in the game, I think Rig would be really perfect for a game if Plymouth have to come out and leave themselves exposed on the break. I think Rig would absolutely love I think he'd love that sort of game. So just to try and get him onto a contract in the summer, if we can do it, we need to convince him that he's going to be here long term.
Yeah. Right, we've got 159 people watching. Thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to smash that like button. I'm not sure what number we're on at the moment, but how did you do that, Terry? You just made fireworks happen with your thumbs. That was amazing. Oh, look at this. He's got all the gadgets. We'll stick with you, Michael. We'll stick with you, Michael, and we'll go back around the circle and just get a quick score prediction to put you on the spot.
2-1 to Sunderland. We won't keep me famous clean sheets, but I think we'll win.
Jacob?
2-1 to the lads. Goal scorers, Rushin and Ekwa.
Jack.
I think we'll beat Plymouth 2-0. Not bothered who the goal scores. I'll go Jack Clark to get one and I don't know, own goal for the second one. Can I just very briefly touch on Huddersfield as well? I think they haven't got a manager at the minute. They sacked Darren Moore last week, or was it the week before? So they're struggling down at the bottom of the league. We should really go in there, and I'd be really disappointed with even a point down there. You know, it's a really good chance for us down there against a team that's struggling to get 6 points. So I'm going to be positive. I haven't been positive the last couple of weeks. I've said we'll lose both weeks, and we've picked up a win and a draw against Stoke and Borough respectively. So I'm going to be positive and go for two wins. So I'll say 2-0 against Plymouth and 1-0 against Huddersfield.
I'll go 3-1 against Huddersfield then. So 2 wins as well.
Terry, what's your 2 for them 2 predictions? Then we'll come to you, Jacob.
Yeah, don't forget, 76 likes at this moment in time. Smash the thumbs up. Yes, smash the thumbs up. But I'm going to go for a very high-scoring game. I think if we score more goals than Plymouth, we'll win. Anyway, I'm going to go 7-8 Sunderland. Actually, no, 3-2. There you go. 3-2 to Sunderland. And 2-1 against Huddersfield. There we go.
You've been watching too many nations games, you.
That's keeping the faith, but it's, even Jacob wouldn't keep the faith that much to score 7-8 goals.
No. I think it'll be 3-2 on Saturday.
Jacob, what's your prediction for the Hull game as well then?
Hull? Oh, you mean Huddersfield?
Oh. Huddersfield, sorry.
Huddersfield.
Yeah.
I'll go with the same scoreline, a 2-1 win for us. But I sort of disagree, even though where they are in the league 4 from bottom, they have just sacked Darren Moore recently. But I think it's from their last 4, 3 draws and 1 win. But I know a friend.
He's gone.
We lost him.
Bye, Jim.
No, was that you conveniently kicking him out, or was that him?
No.
I think he's
what was it he said?
Is that him just going, well, you know, Huddersfield will be a harder game? Go on.
I think, was the stream so shocked that Jacob announced he had a friend there? I've got a friend, bang, he has to go.
Nah, lost connection there. Connection dropped. What was I saying? Yeah, about Huddersfield. Looking at their record from their last 4, 3 draws and a win. I do agree with Jack in the sense, you know, we should be going down there and getting 3 points considering where they are in the league. But I think they'll make it tough for us. I've got a friend who's a Huddersfield fan, and they've said he's told me the players have responded massively to the sacking of Darren Moore, and they've got in a former ex-player as their interim manager right now. But in their last win, which was, I know Sheffield Wednesday are poor, but they played very different to what they have compared under Darren Moore.
I just think to quickly add to that, though, I do get what Jacob's saying. I just think if our ambitions are still top 6, then there's not really an excuse for me not to beat Huddersfield. But games don't work like that, to be fair.
No.
I mean, looking at the next
points, definitely great.
Looking at the next 4 as well, looking at the 2 after that, Birmingham and Swansea. I mean, if we can get a point at Birmingham, we should be beating Swansea. Do you know what I mean? I know it's easy to say, but we should really be looking at getting some points in the next 4. And if we don't, I agree with Michael. I think the playoffs will start fading even, and we'll just end up having a boring mid-table season.
Have you seen as well who the 3 games are after the next 4? Norwich, Leicester, and Southampton. So we really do need to get results in the next 4.
All in the same week as well, that, by the way. That's going to be a horrible week. That Norwich on the Saturday, Leicester on the Wednesday, and Southampton on the Saturday. Sting of that.
One game at a time, lads.
As Jacob says, keep the faith. That's 7 wins in a row coming up from Beale. That's what we're going to see.
21 points on the way.
Right, 157 people watching. Make sure you do hit that like before we finish. The last thing to go around, gents, I just want to keep everyone on par with this. Where are we at with Beale? Are we still pro or negative? Jacob, where do you stand on Beale at the moment with these last 2 results?
I'm going to still be on the fence right now. That's going to be my answer.
Okay. straight to the point. Jack,
I think we'll have more answers on him of what we're going to see long term based on where we finish at the end of this season, how strongly we finish this season.
All right. Where do you stand, Jack?
I'm still bail out. He's not the right man for me. I don't like him personally. I don't really like the football he's played. I'll give him credit. I'm criticising his performances, and the last two have been okay. We played well against Stoke. We dug in against Middlesbrough, but long term, there's just something about him just doesn't strike me as the right Sunderland manager at all. I'd still have him gone tomorrow, but I respect that that's probably not going to happen. He's here till the end of the season now. I'll try and support his team as I'm a Sunderland fan. I'll try and get behind him. But no, I'd still have him gone tomorrow. I think it's a mistake appointment, and I've seen very little to convince us otherwise. But like I say, I hope he proves us wrong when we get in the playoffs, and he, like I say, he makes me have egg on my face, but I doubt it.
Terry, where do you stand with Beale? Do you need me to post you some of my trust in Beale posters yet?
I think he's had lessons in how to handle his interviews over the last couple of interviews, because today's interview I quite sort of enjoyed his interview, to be fair. Today I was more impressed with the interview. I think he's definitely had some sort of lessons from the hierarchy and how to talk to the press. But look, at the end of the day, he's here. We've got to deal with it. I want him to win games of football. That's all that matters. You know, end of the day, it's about getting what happens on a Saturday or during the week, 3 points. Simple as. My personal issues don't matter at this moment in time. It's about getting 3 points, getting behind the lads on Saturday.
Excellent. Well said. Mr. Bowers, where do you stand on Beale?
Sorry, I'm looking at Ian's comment. Beale's an AI manager. Sorry, that was funny. Yeah, artificial intelligence. Who's this just put in the chat? Right, mate, I'm going to get your name wrong. Pagard, I think his name is. Beale not only needs... I agree. I think Beale, we have to see better performances. Now, to be fair, against Stoke and Patches, we played quite well. I think even though we weren't great second half against Borough, I think we did deserve a point on the overall context of the game. But I'm still probably leaning more towards what Jack said. I'm still not particularly convinced that he's the right man. But at the end of the day, and I think Jam Sani has said this, and he put it on and sums it up really well. I still want him to succeed, because then that means in turn Sunderland get results and succeed. Obviously, look, I think he's probably going to be here for the end. I'll be amazed if he goes before the end of the season, unless things turn like really, really bad. If we lose like 5 or 6 on the spin or something. And well, now that I'm going to say this, it might end up happening. But for me, this squad's better than losing a number of games on the spin. Me personally, I'm not convinced with Beale. I would have him gone if I had the choice. But at the end of the day, I think if he does well and we start seeing better performances, then fair enough. I want him to turn it around and make me look like an idiot.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to be with Jacob on this one, I'm afraid. I am completely on the fence, only because I was pro Beale at the start, and I've already seen egg on my chin once, so I'm not going to do it twice. I'm going to wait on that one. But that's all we have time for this evening, I'm afraid. We could probably talk all night. 152 of you watching, much appreciated. Make sure you smash like, even after we're finished. Make sure you leave a comment, because we do look through them afterwards as well. Jack, would you like to say goodbyes to everyone?
Yeah, see everybody later, lads and lasses.
Jacob?
Have a good one, everyone. And as I always say, every week on this channel, keep the faith.
Excellent. Mr. Bowers, would you like to say goodbye to everyone?
Thanks very much to everyone for having me on again. Poor Mike's having to put up with me 2 weeks in a row. But yeah, no, thanks very much. And obviously subscribe to my channel if you're not bored of my waffle. But thanks very much. And yeah, I'll copy Jacob. Let's keep the faith. Let's hope things get better.
And Terry, would you like to say your goodbyes?
Yeah, I want to say a big thank you to everybody in the chat tonight. Well done for all your comments and your thumbs up. Don't forget to keep smashing the thumbs up to 100. And well done to you lads on the panel. Let's hope it's a good weekend with 3 points against Plymouth.
And Huddersfield.
And from me, gents, that's goodbye as well. Make sure you do check out in the videos, in the comments. Everybody's socials and their channels are always in the comments. All the lads on the panels all do this as a volunteer basis. So if you can go and support them on their own things as well, that's much appreciated. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and become a channel member and all that good stuff. And we'll see you all in the next one.